Yeah, so hi everyone. I am Gabriele. I'm the founder of PandasAI. I will try to. I mean, the first part of this talk will be about PandasAI itself, like the library, for the ones that are not familiar with that. And then I will explain how we transitioned to the actual product that is built on the top of PandasAI, and with a particular focus on where I think we are heading with the Gen AI, because I think there's much more when we talk about Gen AI and user experience than just the conversational, just chatting. Chat is one of the nice parts, but I think there's a lot more. But yeah, let's start maybe from the beginning. I will try to just explain a little bit the adventure and how I got eventually to build this kind of product. So it all started when I was doing a little bit of customer discovery, in particular with banks and the financial industry in general. And it was quite clear, and that this is not the only industry that was affected by that, but they were doing things in the very old style. Like they have a lot of Excels here and there, and they're even using different versions of the same Excel file, so they're not even synced up and stuff like that. And I thought this is terribly inefficient, and I definitely wanted to find a way to make it better. And long story short, I don't want to bore you with all the details, but basically that's how PandasAI popped out, basically. So I wanted to figure out a way for them to make this process of analyzing data more efficient. And I thought, okay, we are living in such a great disruption, and it's incredible for me that there is not such a tool to make data analysis easier. One of the problems with data is that the ones that are decision makers are not usually the ones that can ask questions and get insights from data. And I wanted to make it more straightforward for them to do that. And so it all started actually with PandasAI. PandasAI is a library, is an open source library for conversational data analysis. The goal is to basically convert human language, like every query in natural language and in a conversational natural language, actually, convert it to a proper analysis that can be done in the form of insight, like extracting a table, or like grouped table and grouped data, or it can also be a visualization, for example. So basically, here's how it works. Basically, you can connect your data. You can ask for a query in natural language. For example, in this case, it's our low tenured customers more likely to churn. And then it does a few steps in the analysis, in the parsing, and and so on and so forth, until at the end you get an output that can be like a chart, or it can be a number, or it can be a table, or like an answer after the analysis has been done. So here are a few examples of how you can use. You can ask for questions that expect an answer in the form of a table, or it can be an answer in the form of a chart, for example, or it can be a number, for example, average, median, mode, and so on and so forth. Or it can be a more complex analysis that actually provides more deeper understanding of your query and the process to be done to then provide you with data. Here are some of the companies that are using the library at the moment. But the story goes on. In fact, the library was like the first, was the initial point. I mean, we really wanted to, contribute to the developments of the technology that we have seen. LLMs are, disrupting literally every industry. But back then, they were not so good at doing the math, so they couldn't do complex calculations, for example. And so basically, we figured that basically we could have done it better. And also, we noticed, talking to our customers, that every one of them, or most of them, were actually building such a tool to do internal analytics for non-technical people. So imagine you have a top execs in the company, or you might have PMs in the company. And some of them are technical, so they can do some SQL query, they can write some Python code, but most of them are not. and they are the ones that need data-driven decision on a hourly or daily basis. And so it starts a very inefficient back and forth between the data team and the PMs or execs. And this is also UX in my experience, in my opinion, because the user experience is not just something that has to deal with a tool, but it can also be about the process. And so we wanted to improve this process. So I will explain a little bit how PandaBI works. PandaBI is actually the product that we decided to build on top of PandasAI. And it's a very minimal interface where you can, it reminds a little bit of ChatGPT. If you can see on the right side, on the left side, you have all the past chats with your data. And then in the central part, you have the feed, which is a sort of a place where you actually save all your past analysis that you want to persist, so that you can keep track of them. And then, you can share with your teammates and so on and so forth. I will also share the video more into details. But basically, here's how it works. So the difference between traditional BI tools, you can already see probably from the interface a little bit. You have these interfaces which are not super easy to understand for non-technical people. So it's not just about generative AI or bringing some kind of conversational features on the top of the product, but it's more about the whole new wave of UX actually that we are trying to achieve. And so one option to do data analysis was using the traditional BI tools that not only are complex to use sometimes, but also comes with a lot of configuration and settings that you have to do before it's actually operational. And then the alternative is the spreadsheet, which is a little bit easier to use. Actually, a lot of people actually know how to use Excel or Google Sheets, for example, but still it's not as powerful and as flexible as you would probably need. So what we tried to do was an interface that is clean and easy to use, and it's AI powered by. So, for example, you can as I will show you, you can type any query in natural language and you will get the answer either in form of visualization or similar. And you get insights in seconds, so you don't have to do all of the overhead where you either ask the data team or the BI manager to create a new dashboard, but you can just create your own dashboard in a few minutes and it's ready and it's completely set up. And it doesn't require any technical skills, which is probably one of the most interesting part of it. So the future of business intelligence is conversational, you can really ask your question in natural language. And also one thing that we try to do, because it's quite easy to make a conversational agent that understands your data and answer your query. But the point is, most of the end users are non-technical users. So you also have to figure out how to understand their requirements from a non-technical user and convert it to technical requirements that then are converted into code or into a process to analyze data. Here are a few of the other features, but I want to show you a video. So the goal here is to go from the roughly 3% within a company that knows how to analyze data to virtually 100%. So we want literally everyone that has access to some data to take data-driven decisions to be empowered to do so. And here is an example of a video. So basically, as you can see, here's how it works. You just type a query in natural language, and then it does the analysis for you. And then it provides the either the table, like in this case, where it's grouping by different status, and now it asks to visualize it, and then you can see it visualized. You can also further interact with it. So it's a multi-turn conversation, and ask, for example, to use different colors, and then you see that it's colored. Or then you can move on, and it will generate a pie chart instead, and so on and so forth. And then you can save the pie chart, and it will be persisted in your feed. So that's how it works in a nutshell. So this is pretty much the UX, but I want to also put emphasis in what comes next, because I think when we think about UX in the era of AI, there is a common misconception that generative AI means chat. Generative AI means conversation. That's not the case. I think this is probably the most naive implementation that you can do. So it's already something. I mean, it's cool, but it's probably just the tip of the iceberg. Like the very probably 3% of the possibility that you really have with generative AI. And I think when we think of generative AI and UX, we have to think as a paradigm shift. It's very similar, in my opinion, to what happened since 2008, when the first 2007, when the first iPhone came out. Because I think you could think of the old interfaces before the iPhone. They were thought for a different device, for a different use case. So you were in front of your desktop, and your desktop had a different ratio, different resolution, and you are just interacting from your desktop with a mouse, with a keyboard. So it's a different thing. And then the mobile came out, and you started tapping instead of clicking and typing. So and also the resolution of your screen was completely different. It was vertical as opposed to the horizontal one, and also you were more likely to use in different contexts, not when you were sit in front of a desktop, with all the calm surrounding, but maybe you were in your metro, and so you were just typing something very fast. So the experience has changed drastically since the advent of the iPhone. And I think we are in the same exact situation. So we have a new way, a new interface that is going to disrupt significantly the user experience in the product. And as I said, the chat is just a very minor part of it, as we will see. And one interesting thing is that this paradigm shift is going to affect literally everyone. Not even the biggest companies on earth are safe. I will make a couple of examples because it's pretty clear, but these are just very minor and easy examples. One is Google. So the way we search will be a lot different. Not because we changed the way we search. I mean, we also changed the way we type a query, because it can be more of a question as opposed to what we had, which was more keyword based, although Google had already done significant advancement from that point of view. But it's also different in the way we then use the content. So when you search on Google, as you can see on the left side, you have this you have all this news, and then you have to click on one and read the article. Sometimes you have a paywall. Sometimes you don't find what you were initially searching for, and so on and so forth. Maybe you have to click 5 times, then moving back, then clicking again, and then you have a broader understanding of what is going on. While in this case, we have Perplexity on the right side, and Perplexity is let's say, it's a new wave of doing, search engine, let's say. So in this case, it does exactly what Google does, but it just show you the content in a different way. First of all, you don't have to click on one specific article, but you can read the summary. So it's Perplexity that does the job for you. So it just picks from different sources and summarize it all, so that you can just have a read and you have the answer right away from what you were asking for. And so this is quite interesting, because then if you want to dig deeper, you have all the references, and then you can click in the exact reference that digs deeper about that specific topic. So it's a different way, it's a different user experience. You get the summary first, and then you can expand, you can dig deeper. While with Google, you first have to read everything, and then finally you can have a broader understanding and a kind of a summary that you do by yourself. Of course, this comes with potential threats like how it does prioritize the different sources, whether these sources are actually trustful, and so on and so forth. But that's another story. We are not talking more about the UX, and the UX, even for such a basic use case, has changed significantly. Another example is, for example, Photoshop. You can see Photoshop on the left, and then you can see Midjourney. This is actually not even Midjourney; it's Discord. You just install a bot and you start talking with a bot. You just have to learn how to use it, which is super easy because you just have to do \imagine, and then you type the prompt, which is now a prompt, but it's becoming more and more conversational. So imagine in the very early days of Midjourney, it was less conversational. You had to learn how to use the right keywords at the right time. And now it's becoming more and more conversational. There are, of course, I'm just mentioning Midjourney, but there's Stable Diffusion, there's DALL-E by OpenAI. So there are plenty of players in the space. I'm just showing an example. And this made even Photoshop, even the big player, change drastically their UX. So now Photoshop is becoming more and more of a Gen AI powered tool. So you will be able to select different areas in the photo, ask for doing changes with Gen AI, and so on and so forth. So it's not that Adobe is just sitting there and waiting, but they have to move faster than other players, or they might lose the throne in what they're doing. Because if you look at the interface, in one case, you just have a search bar, and in the other case, you have all of these complex tools, and you have to learn how to use each of them individually. So, of course, it's very easier for a person that just approaches to this new world. And then there's another example, which is this one, which is PandasAI to some extent. So again, we have on one end the complex BI tools, where you have all these crazy dashboards, and it's incredible. I was kind of surprised by how complicated the process to create a dashboard actually is. You might think, okay, it's just about drag and dropping things, but it's not like that. You have to connect all the different data, then the data has to be one related to another, and so on and so forth. And then finally, you can create a dashboard, and then whoever needs the data has access to this static dashboard, which is static, so it doesn't change with time based on your needs. It doesn't learn from your usage, and so it's a very static experience. What we're trying to build is something that learns constantly from the users and changes the user experience accordingly. And I will share a few more insights in the future. So, as I said, there's a couple of points that I think, a couple of mistakes and misconceptions that are quite frequently, as I already mentioned. So generative AI, everyone thinks it's about writing and it's about chatting. It's not the case. I mean, it's, as I said, a very minor part of it. In fact, Gen AI is about reading and reasoning. This is one of the most underrated things that generative AI does. So, I mean, it's fun to see, how it generates us, I don't know, our next LinkedIn post or our next email marketing campaign and stuff like that. That's fine. But I think it's just a very minor use case. I mean, what is really interesting is not that it can generate a perfect copy, which doesn't, to be honest, but it's more about the fact that it can understand what we really mean. Even if we formulate the sentence in a very poor way, chances are it will understand. If we pass some data, it will understand what that data is. I mean, I've been surprised that sometimes I was dealing with data sets that I couldn't understand. I mean, it took me minutes. It took me hours sometimes to understand what this data set was about, how it was structured. And then I just passed the metadata to the generative AI, like a large language model, and it was immediately understanding what it was about. This is surprisingly powerful, Just understanding in a fraction of a second is what really can be leveraged from generative AI. And the second part is reasoning, because of course, large language models cannot really reason, but they can emulate human reasoning. So they have seen a lot of human reasoning, a lot of human processes, and they can learn how to reproduce those in a way that then it somehow as if they were reasoning. So why is this important? Because, for example, in Panda BI, okay, we are doing a lot of R&D about how we can use generative AI even more. And there are a lot of use cases that we're finding. And every day there is a new one. And this is super exciting. In fact, the chat interface is just one of this. That's the most naive one, of course, because you just have to, we had already the library, and so it was quite straightforward for us to make it happen. However, one thing that we have already implemented is the background data analysis. So instead of having the user asking for specific data analysis, we can starting from their data, we can do the data analysis by ourselves, leveraging the reasoning capabilities of large language models. And sometimes it can provide even deeper insights than the one that real data analysts might find. And this is quite impressive. And this is one of the use cases. And it uses generative AI, even if the user doesn't have to type anything. So we proactively serve content, serve analysis to the user without the user having to ask. And this is the best user experience in the world, if you think about it, because you don't even have to type anything. It just learns from you, and it just does some tasks for you. And this is one. The other one is about you can personalize the UI and the UX of the user based on their past interactions. So imagine the user clicks on one button, then on another, then does something else, then scroll, and you can grab all of this information and pass this information to a large language model, sometimes a basic one, like a pre-trained one, sometimes a fine-tuned one, and you can kind of change the UI accordingly. So based on how the user uses your product, you can provide a different UI automatically. I'll make an example. We have two kinds of users in our platform: more technical users and no technical users. So based on their interactions with the product, we can understand whether a user is technical or not and provide them a completely different user experience that is tailored for their technical knowledge. So some features are just advanced features that are only available to certain users. Some other features won't be shown to them because it will be misleading. And so we are improving the user experience for both, providing what they need at the right time. And then, yeah, other use cases like, for example, extracting structured information from unstructured data. So imagine you have a contract and you want to understand who are the two parties in the contract, who are the two companies signing the contract. You can get all of these data. So this is also generative AI, and you don't really have to type anything. It's just about passing that and teaching how to extract this information. Then you can do data labeling, for example, and you can do a lot of other things. The other thing that is quite interesting about generative AI is the capability of understanding the intent quite well. So based on your query, it can be that the large language model can now trigger several actions. So imagine you ask, what's the weather like? Okay, this is one of the most naive ones. So the large language model, of course, doesn't know what's the weather like, because it doesn't have this expertise. So what it does is it triggers an action, and this action is an API call to a third-party API call, like it can be weather.com or similar, and then it provides the information, and then this information is used to provide an answer. So this is yet another user experience that you can build without having to link a lot of different things, or without having to navigate on the internet, because you have this common interface that already knows that. The final thing, and this is the final point, but I think it's also as important, is that the generative AI can also see. Now, this is quite underrated because it's pretty recent. I mean, we are now seeing more powerful models happening at the moment, powerful multimodal models. But there are so many use cases. Think about it. Imagine you have a user that is navigating your website. In theory, what you can do is you can in theory take a screenshot every 5 seconds, understanding what the user is doing and changing its experience accordingly. You can really do a lot of things about custom user experience based on their interactions. And this is underrated, but I think this is going to disrupt as soon as the models are becoming cheaper and cheaper. Now it's not feasible because of a lot of things, but imagine like you can have like in-browser large language models at some point. And this will become a commodity technology. So you can have front-end libraries changing dynamically the product based on what happens, what the user does. So just observing what the user does. And this is extremely powerful. At PandasAI, what we do is we indeed just use to understand the charts. So imagine you have like a chart, you upload the chart, and we can extract data from the chart, or you can understand if there's like a trend, for example, and stuff like that. So the current use case that we are implementing at the moment, but this is just one very minor example of something that is a lot more powerful than that. Yeah, I think what is this is probably the final thought.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So basically,
yeah. Sorry.
So basically, the real revolution here is I think also the person before me was mentioned something like that, and I totally agree with that. Is we can now do something 10x cheaper and 10x faster than it used to be, because I mean the use cases that I mentioned are not entirely new, because you could already do some of it. You know, there were already other AI models, but then you have to deploy every custom model for every specific use case. And now with generative AI, you can just pass some data and some context to an API, and you get an instant answer at a fraction of the price. And this is extremely powerful. So you can really disrupt a lot of different things. Again, it's not just about chatting, it's about a whole new experience.